Welcome back to the channel. We're back with another Final Fantasy Commander deck profile with Tifa Lockhart. For 2 mana, you get a 1-2 with Trample, and whenever a land you control enters the battlefield, double her power until end of turn. So, you'll have plenty of ways to get more and more lands onto the battlefield every turn in order to make sure you keep on doubling her power and doubling her power and doubling her power. This way, eventually, you get enough damage to swing in on your opponent to win the game with that. You only need 21 damage with commanders to have enough damage to defeat them. This deck comes in at just under 150 if you exclude Tifa and Traveling Chocobo, and some prices that you just kind of expect to fall with the new set coming out, as these are still just pre-release prices. But let's get into it card by card. So, like I said, Tifa's power doubles based on any time a land enters. So we have Adventuring Gear. We have whenever a land you control enters, equip creatures +2/+2 till end of turn. So we get to decide how those abilities stack, making her into a 3/3 and then making her into a 6/6 when that land enters. Blackblade Reforge, equip creatures +1/+1 for each land you control. We don't necessarily need to have her power start at 1. We can have her power start at 1 plus the amount of lands that we control, allowing us to double more than just 1, which is going to make sure that we can get that damage on our opponent faster. We do run 38 lands in here total, so that could be quite the big hit on them. Conduit of Worlds. Playing lands from our graveyard is super helpful in this deck, especially since we have so many lands that'll sacrifice themselves in order to get us a land from the deck. This way we can play those lands again. We don't necessarily need to worry about drawing those lands. Skyclave Pickaxe enters the battlefield, tap into the creature you control, so normally Tifa. Whenever a land you control enters, equip creature gets +2/+2 till end of turn, so that plus Adventuring Gear plus Tifa, that's +5, +4/+4. That puts her at a 5. Why am I blanking on numbers? But yeah, 5 power, and then that doubles her to 10 power, which is already almost halfway there towards commander damage. And maybe it was our first land that was already put our 11. Soul Ring, allowing us for an additional mana, which is always like to see it. Swiftfoot Boots, we want to be able to attack with Tifa the turn she comes in, so giving her haste is super helpful in this deck, along with giving her some protection, so that our opponents can't target the turn she comes in, can't target her as easily as they could. You could also run Lightning Grease if you have the additional $8 on your budget, instead of like something like, one of the other cards that we'll be getting to in a little bit. Ancient Green Warden. You may play lands from your graveyard. Same thing as Conduit of Worlds. We love to play lands from our graveyard. If land entering causes this ability to happen, it happens an additional time. So rather than just doubling, we're quadrupling. We're getting the +4/+4 from each of these. So the +4/+4, +4/+4, so that's +8/+8. So it puts her at a 9/2. Well, not 9/2, but 9 power. Then we double that again. That puts her at 18, puts her at 36, which allows her to swing in for commander damage. Potentially as early as turn 6 or earlier, because we're playing landfall, so we're going to have more than enough ways to get more lands onto the battlefield sooner rather than later. Avengers Zendikar enters the battlefield, create a 0/1 plant token for every land you control, which is going to be quite a bit. Maybe get 38 plant tokens, and then you sacrifice, and then you get another land onto the battlefield somehow by sacrificing one and playing it again. Loot Exuberant Explorer. We don't want to play just one land every turn. We want to make sure we can play as many lands as possible every turn. So we're going to be playing an additional land every turn with Loot's ability. And then if you have 6 mana, you can look at the top 6 cards of your library. Real creature card with mana value less than or equal to the number of lands you control. So normally at least 6, and which is basically every card in every creature in this deck. And put it onto the battlefield. So it's not Avengers on the card. We've gone through 2, and it's already not one of them. But yeah, we get a lot of cards out of our deck with this. Lowe's Cobra from some additional mana every time our lands enter the battlefield. This way, since some lands do enter tapped, we want to make it so that they don't. Lumra, Bellow of the Woods. Power and toughness equal to the number of lands you control. He could be even more powerful than Tifa at a certain point, because his power sticks around, but hers, it doesn't stick around. Mill the top 4 cards of your deck, then return all lands from your graveyard to the battlefield. So all those lands that we're sacrificing earlier for other means, now we get them back and get to use them again. This card is $16, and also Ancient Green Warden are $11. So if it's not on your budget, these are a couple cards that is super easy to cut. but they are really helpful in this deck, so I definitely would recommend running them now. Princess Sarah, aka Azusa, Lost but Seeking. You may play 2 additional lands on each of your turns. You know, maybe you pull this card from the pack. It's normally $11, but if you pulled it from a pack, it's only as expensive as the pack was. You play 2 additional lands each turn now. It's super helpful, allowing us to get those 2 additional landfall abilities every turn, allowing us to get that additional +6/+6 off of each of our Skyclave pickaxes. Every time, if we do that every turn, allows us to get all the lands we sacrificed out of our graveyard back onto the battlefield. We love to see it. Rampaging Bailots. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, create a 4/4 green beast creature token. We may as well. I mean, it's only 79 cents. It helps us with the budget a little bit, but it also gets us quite a few creatures. Ramunap Excavator. Play lands from your graveyard. Once again, we want to play ways to play lands from our graveyard so we get our lands that we sacrifice back. We don't want to have to worry about drawing into lands. Sacred Tribe Elder. Sacrifice this creature, get another land. We're going to need more than one way to get more than one land a turn, so let's sacrifice this creature, get that additional land, double Tifa's power. We'd even do it during our opponent's turn. This way they don't see it coming. I mean, you could remind them before they swing in, but that's a decision that's up to you. Sizes Chocobo. Whenever land enters, put a +1/+1 counter on this creature. So, similar to Tifa's ability, he gets more powerful anytime a land enters. Scoot Swarm. If you have 6 or more lands and a land enters, double the amount of Scoot Swarms, which quadruples if you have Ancient Green Warden, and if you have Traveling Chocobo, that's 8 times as many, which could be a lot of Scoot Swarms, which, people are already saying you have too many Scoot Swarms, so now you really have too many Scoot Swarms. Spring Bloom Druid, like I said, we want more ways to get extra lands onto the battlefield, so let's sacrifice the land and get 2 additional onto the battlefield. Because that'll still get us the 2 landfall abilities, getting us 2 off of Scoot Swarm. Yeah, love to see it. Tireless Provisioner. Land you control enters, create food or treasure. Some good landfall abilities there that are relatively cheap. Tireless Tracker, another good one. Gets us clues, gives us a little bit of draw power off that as well. And Traveling Chocobo, play lands from the top of your library, play birds from the top of your library. You don't have any other birds, but you could if you wanted to. Maybe run a Bird of Paradise rather than Lumra for some reason. But it also helps you with Lumra, like knowing when to cast Lumra, because you can look at the top card of your library at any time. So if there's a card you want there, you don't want to play Lumra. And then also does the same thing as Ancient Green Warden, where it doubles up our landfall abilities, which is really helpful in this deck. Let's scroll on over to the second half of the deck. Oh, and sorry, one thing with that as well. So if we have both Traveling Chocobo and Ancient Green Warden, that does double the double, so that's 4 times as much, allowing us to, get Tifa up to, she doubles her power. First time, say if we play land, that's 2, 4, and then we get her up to 8, 16, all off of just 1 land drop, and we're going to have more than one way to get 1 land per turn. And, I'm already at the second half of the deck. My apologies there. And then for enchantment, yep, I did creatures. Blanchwood Armor. Oh, sorry, my mouse is acting weird. Enchant creature gets +1/+1 for each forest you control, aka majority of our lands. Not by much. We only have 22 forests out of the 38 lands in here. But Tifa doubles her power, not necessarily her base power. So if you have this on her, you have 5 forests on the battlefield. She's already a 6/6, doubling to 12/12, doubling to a 14/14 if you have a Traveling Chocobo on the battlefield. Makes it super easy to get that commander damage in. Conley, Heart of Expedition. Landfall. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, you may put a quest counter onto this. Get 2 if you have Traveling Chocobo. Move 3 quest counters from it. Sacrifice it. Search your library for 2 basic lands. Put them onto the battlefield. Like I said, easy way to get additional lands onto the battlefield. We want to have as many cheap cards in here to do as possible to limit our budget as well. So you could run something like Revisits instead of this, but this does work out really well. We did also do a full power version of this, but we did miss a couple cards. So make sure you look down there in the comment section where people did leave some super helpful hints of other cards you can run there. Retreat Kazandu. Whenever a land you control enters, choose 1. Put a +1/+1 counter on target creature, making it so that Tifa gets that, makes her into a 2/3 rather than starting at 1 power, because then we'll be going from 4 to 8 rather than 2 to 4 to 8. Unnatural Growth, at the beginning of each combat, double the power and toughness of each creature you control. If we're going to be doubling, we may as well double again. Helps us get not only Tifa stronger, but everyone stronger. And that's also not only during your turn, that's during everyone's turn. Beast Within will allow us for a little bit of removal of our opponent's cards. Blossoming Defense, target creature control gets hexproof and +2/+2, allowing Tifa to start at a 3/4, allowing us to double from 3 to 6 rather than 1 to 2 to 4. And hexproof is also just super helpful in terms of a little bit of protection there. Endless Restoration, sacrifice land, get 2 additional lands if you don't control power 4 or greater, but if you do, you get 3 additional lands, which, that could be a lot of doubling for Tifa there. That already puts her at 8 power. Gaia's Gift, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature control, trample, hexproof, indestructible, a little bit of protection there for Tifa, but also that +1/+1 counter helps us out a whole bunch as well, with the same thing as Blossoming Defense, where we want to start off higher than just a 1. Giant Growth, let's just start at 4 power. We may as well have had 2 land drops already with that increase in power that we're getting. But instead, we still get that. Groundswell, target creature control is +2/+2 to on the turn. Once again, start off higher than the 1. Landfall, if a land enters the battlefield under your control, this turn, that creature gets +4/+4 until end turn instead. It is like a weird timing one on this one, I actually just noticed. Because you only want it to happen the once, where the land entered previously, rather than normally where landfall cares about this card staying on the battlefield. That's interesting. Harrow, additional cost to cast the spell, sacrifice a land, get 2 additional lands. Yep, those additional landfall abilities, we love to see them. Hunter's Insight, choose target creature you control. When that creature deals combat damage to a player or planeswalker this turn, since Tifa has trampled, she'll be easily dealing damage to a player. You get to draw that many cards. Careful you don't deck yourself out with how much you're doubling her power though. Invigorate, if you control forest, rather than pay the spell's mana cost, you may have an opponent gain 3 life. We don't care if they gain 3 life if we're just dealing 21 commander damage to them after we make her into a 5 power, and then we double that into a 10, double again into 20, double it a third time, making it 40 power with trample. That's more than enough commander damage. Overprotect, target creature gets +3/+3, trample, hexproof, indestructible. A little bit of protection, a little bit of a stat boost there for Tifa. We got, Primal Bellow. Target creatures +1/+1 for every forest you control. So if we have that, plus Blanchwood Armor, we're getting +2/+2 for every forest we control. Could be a 12, +12/+12 if we have the, what's it called? Why am I blanking on the word? If we have 6 forests, Ramdrew, target creature you control, deals damage equal to its power to target creature you don't control. If it deals excess damage and had trample, it does that much damage to your opponent as well, where it actually tramples over, whereas most fight spells do not. Rolling Regrowth, same exact thing as Harrow, except which one has put them onto the battlefield, then shuffle for that one, versus this one puts them onto the battlefield tapped, then you shuffle. But same mana cost, same instant, same cost. Snakeskin Veil, a little bit of extra protection again, and that +1/+1 counter allowing us to start at 2 power rather than starting at the 1. Tivar Stand, target creature controls +X/+X and gains hexproof. If we have enough mana, we could, get plenty of power and toughness onto her, allowing us to just play another one and swing in for that commander damage. We're actually going into the lands for this one, as opposed to most of our other commander decks. Band Panorama, sacrifice it, get a forest. You guys get 2 landfall abilities. Blightwood Woodland, 4 mana, search it, get 2 basic lands. We get 3 landfall abilities the turn this comes out, as long as we have the mana to do such, allowing Tifa to get up to 8 power. Broker's Hideout, sacrifice it right away, get a forest out of your deck, allowing us 2 landfall abilities, a little bit of life gain while we're at it, making it, so let's just do in theory, if we could play every land during our turn, how powerful could Tifa get? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. If we have Cabaret Courtyard, because it'll sacrifice. End of turn. Let me actually get a marker, because otherwise I'm going to forget. Demolition Field allows us to get up to 10, but you also sacrifice to destroy target non-basic land. External may search for a basic land card, allowing us to get up to the 11 on that if we destroy one of our own things. Escape Tunnel, sacrifice it, search your library for a basic land card, aka get your forest out of deck. So this is 12, 13, 14, 15 with Evolving Wilds, allowing us to sacrifice search for a basic land card. 15, we're at 13? Yeah, 14, 15 with Fabled Passage, same thing as Evolving Wilds essentially. We're not even going to count the forest because those are going to be what we're searching for. Jund Panorama, sacrifice it, search your library for forest, put it onto the battlefield. 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 with Mirrored Landscape because you could sacrifice it for 2 mana and put 2 lands onto the battlefield. Naya Panorama, 21, 22, sacrifice it, get another forest out of your deck. Promising Vein, 23, 24, search your library for a basic land card, put onto the battlefield. Riveteer's Outlook, sacrifice it right away, get a forest out of your deck. 25, 26, Shire Terrace, sacrifice it, search for a basic land card. 27, 28 off that, 29, 30 with Terramorphic Expanse, which is basically Evolving Wilds. And then 30, 31 with Ursa's Cave. For getting that, what's it called? Any land from your deck onto the battlefield, which you could do a forest. Normally you could do something like Broker's Hideout. Any of them work. And then let's double that with Traveling Chocobo and double that again with Ancient Green Warden. So putting us at 2 to the 124th power in terms of how strong we could get Tifa in terms of this deck. Yeah, maybe you could do it. You're probably not going to though. Boundless Realms. I mean, but if you did have them all in your graveyard and you managed to sacrifice them all and get, like, you could get them all back with Lumber on Deary. Because even if it is if you had every land in your graveyard and you played Lumra, you could get 2 to the 64th still, which is still enough to destroy one of our opponents. So I'm just thinking, like, if you sacrifice all of your non-basics for forests, yeah, that's enough. Boundless Realms, back to reality. Search the library for X basic land cards where X is the number of lands you control. That could be quite a bit. That could get us from 19 to 38 in theory, which could put us 2 to 76 power. And then, we get Path to Exile, and we gain all that life. We don't even have to worry about Jumbo Cactuar anymore. Broken Bond, remove a artifact or enchantment, get a land onto the battlefield. Bushwhack, a fight spell, allowing Tifa to fight another creature or get a land from our deck. Cultivate, allowing us to get land from our deck onto the battlefield and one into our hand as well. Explore, allowing us to play an additional land from our hand, allowing us to draw a card. Once again, all these really want us to get those additional landfall abilities to make so our abilities can happen again and again. Explosive Vegetation, search the library for 2 basic land cards, get those 2 landfall abilities off that. Azorius Perdition allows us a little bit of a board wipe as long as our opponent doesn't control anything with power 4 or greater. But we get all those things with power 4 or greater. Just 4. Flare of Cultivation. You may sacrifice a non-token green creature you control to play its spell's mana cost rather than paying its mana cost. But you can just pay its mana cost because you're going to have the mana. Search the library for up to 2 basic land cards, reveal them, put them onto the battlefield tap, and the other into your hand. So you're basically using Cultivate or Kodama's Reach, which are basically the same card. Harmonize, a little bit of draw power there, because, some of the draw power in green is quite expensive. Migration Path, search your library for up to 2 basic land cards, put them on the battlefield tap, then shuffle. Yeah, a little bit of landfall ability there. Nisa's Pilgrimage, search the library for up to 2 forest cards, reveal them, put them onto the battlefield tapped, other into your hand, same thing as Kodama's Reach. Fido Burst, target creature gets +5/+5 till end of turn, allowing Tifa to start at 6, so you just need 2 land drops, so aka play Evolving Wilds, sacrifice Evolving Wilds. You're already at the 24 power, which is enough to deal enough commander damage. Rampant Growth for another landfall. Rishkar's Expertise, pretty good draw power in this deck, especially because, we got Tifa up to 2 to this millionth billion. We could draw 2 to the million billion cards from our deck and deck ourselves out. I don't know why. There's just like a fun thing, like in terms of decking yourself out, especially coming from like playing Yu-Gi-Oh previously, where you don't have any draw power in that, but this you have all the draw power. Scale to Heights, put a +1/+1 counter on up to 1 target creature. You gain 2 life, play an additional land. It's 3 mana. It's a little bit worse than Explore. If you have the money, you can also run Exploration, which is a better version of both of this. But yeah, a little bit of draw power helps out there as well. Scale up. Target creature you control becomes a 6/4. So rather than have Tifa start at the 1 power, we start at 6 power. Sky Shard Claim. More ways to get lands onto the battlefield. We love it. Soul's Majesty. Draw cards equal to the power of target creature you control. Once again, we could deck ourselves out. Summer Bloom. You may play up to 3 additional lands this turn. This one's really good, because especially if we have... I guess I didn't have the budget for Conduit of Worlds in this deck. But if we had, like, something to play lands from our graveyard. I know there's something in here. Oh, Ancient Green Warden. There's also a card that was printed in, I believe, Brothers War, which is 5 mana and unearthed for 2 green, which is really good in this deck that I forgot to put in here, I'm realizing, but it allows you to play lands from your graveyard. Check out the Lumra deck profile for that card. I know it's in there. Traverse the Outlands. Search the library for X-based lands cards, where X is the greatest power among creatures you control, aka all of our lands. Well, really all of our forests. It's not really all of our lands. But that's the deck profile. Thanks so much for tuning into the video. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe so you can stay tuned for future deck profiles. I hope you have a good rest of the day.